The notorious Conor McGregor, the enigma that he is, was trending on Twitter the other day, but not for a fight announcement for one Conor McGregor that we've all been anticipating. Nothing like that. It was because of a previous opponent of his had his fight announced. And I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul was announced. And by proxy, Conor McGregor's name started trending because everyone was talking about the ridiculousness that was Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. And somehow, these three things are all connected in what is the most ridiculous matchup I've ever seen. Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul is actually a thing. I thought this was a troll on Twitter. I don't know what your first reaction was when you saw this, but when I saw it and then saw it was from the official @Floyd Mayweather account, I could not believe my eyes what I was seeing. What is 2020 doing to us in the final moments here?
Man, I thought it was a troll as well. Like the first thing I saw was like a video, and the Twitter just plays the preview of the video with no sound, and I'm just seeing like, what are they doing? Like, that's like people got way too much time on their hands,
right?
And I just scrolled past it, and then I'm seeing people that I know and respect all weighing in on this. I'm like, what? Is this for real? And then I see from Floyd Mayweather's account, like, oh, this is actually happening. At first I thought it was, I don't know if you remember before Floyd and Conor was official, when they were still talking about it to where it sounded like it was unrealistic, but they wanted it to happen. There was a very, very poorly made Photoshop of a fight poster for Conor versus Floyd that Floyd put on his Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's the first thing I thought. It's like, but then it's like, no, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Funny enough, you mentioned the poorly Photoshop fight poster. My story about that is I actually was taking a random design class at the community college here, about 6 months prior to that. And, we had a project, Photoshop an event image or whatever. I came up with the idea of Photoshopping Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. I still have this image on my Facebook, if you people don't believe, with the date that it was posted. So I'll relink it and all that stuff. I'm not bamboozling you people.
I'm looking for it right now.
This is real. They probably saw this image, because UFC brass, they see my stuff all the time. Conor McGregor follows me. No, he doesn't. But, you can go back and see the date on this poster just so you can see that I was the one that sparked this idea. I'm taking full credit for it.
It's your fault.
It is my fault. I will take full responsibility. But I do want to ask you this, Ant. Why is Vegas disrespecting Conor McGregor? And what I mean by that is Conor McGregor was a underdog to the tune of minus 2,500. A world champion in 2 divisions in the UFC. Minus 2,500. And now Vegas is slapping a line of only minus 5,000 on Logan Paul. So why is Las Vegas disrespecting Conor McGregor like this?
I think this is more of a disrespect to Eddie Alvarez, because they're saying KSI is on Eddie Alvarez's level with something like this. This is just simple, really, really simple minded. Like, even the ridiculous odds of 5,000 to 1 is a bargain for Floyd Mayweather. A bargain. Like, you can put everything that you've ever owned. You can mortgage your mama's house. You can wipe the bank accounts of your closest loved ones away. Go to Vegas, put down this, get the most measly of returns, and it's the most guaranteed money you'll ever make in your life. This is ridiculous. The fact that they consider an actual fighter. Granted, he's not a boxer per se. He's not a boxer on the caliber of a Floyd Mayweather, but Conor McGregor is a legitimate fighter who has actually knocked real fighters out repeatedly. Like, he does that for a living. Logan Paul, I don't know if he's knocking people out. I don't remember him knocking out KSI. I was at the last fight.
I beat him.
Oh, he beat him. Okay, so I'd mentally checked out. I was there covering, and I'd mentally checked out. I tried to erase it from my memory, but Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And one thing that we know, like Connor odds don't make sense in general. I know we've talked about that before, but
Mhm.
this is not making sense on another level. Like this, that's straight disrespect. That's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that Vegas is even taking action on this fight. And that the fact that they even have a line at Floyd Mayweather is ridiculous because it could be literally minus 1 million. And I would find a way to come up with 1 million to make that $1. I would do it. I would find a way to do it because that's the easiest dollar you would ever make in your life. The fact that they are actually taking action on this on the Mayweather side, if anything, Vegas should be taking action only on the Logan Paul side. Like, we'll give you Logan Paul at plus $1,500,000, hit 1,500 to 1.
So now, one thing, is this like an actual like counting as a pro fight, or is this going to be considered an exhibition,
It's
like
an
the Tension
exhibition. Yeah,
Nasukawa fight?
it's an exhibition. So that's what's even crazier, that they're taking action on an exhibition like this.
Yeah,
It doesn't
that
make any sense to me.
doesn't make much sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going crazy enough to actually make this thing a thing, even it being an exhibition, I guess go crazy, right? Go all the way stupid. I'm curious what this undercard is going to look like, because that was actually part of the thing that actually intrigued me about the Mike Tyson Roy Jones thing. Even though those are two legitimate former champion, world class boxers fighting each other, they had a pretty decent undercard. Those fights on the undercard was amazing, right? And that's what they've kind of tried to do with some of these other fights before. Devin Haney fought on one of these undercards before. Legitimate, one of the best boxers on the planet right now. I'm curious what they do on the undercard, but I'm also curious. As we tied Conor McGregor into this whole mix up here, is Proper 12 going to be on the canvas anywhere? Is it going to be on the ropes? What do you think?
Possibly. The thing is, you can't separate him from an event like this. Floyd obviously has his connections to Conor, and there's been talk of rematches and all that foolishness, and Floyd jumping in the cage, and which we know will never happen. But also, at least one of the Paul brothers has been calling out Conor a lot lately. So this is some sort of, this is going to factor in here. Dylan Dennis is going to get involved. I could see Artem Lobov stepping. I think Artem Lobov is popping off at Jake Paul now too. Like they've really made such a circus out of this whole thing. Enough people will buy it, and this is going to set up more farces, and I probably will end up watching them too and feeling pretty disgusting afterward.
Yeah, of course. We're all going to watch because it's a spectacle, right? There was a sharp contrast over the past couple of weeks in boxing where you had the Mike Tyson Roy Jones card, and that was pure spectacle. It was a trip down, memory lane, so to speak, and we got to see two legends, essentially have a glorified sparring match, right? They weren't trying to knock each other out. Sharp contrast. The very next weekend, Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia was a hell of a fight, hell of a high level fight between two guys at the top of the game. Hell of a fight in Jerry world, COVID protocols be damned, whatever have you. Sharp contrast competitively. This, I don't know where you put this in terms of, trying to compare it to another event that's going to be taking place around the same time. But I will say this, if they do put competitive fights on there, I hope they find a way to squeeze a legitimate championship fight on there somehow. I don't know what the the other sanctioning bodies how they would feel about putting one of their champions on this card, but hopefully you give us some substance. What if they throw an MMA fighter on there to box some random person? How would you feel about that?
I mean, that'll be more legitimate than the main event. So, okay.
Never mind. I had an idea, but I was like, they're going to do their own thing if it ever happens. And what sparked
Zuffa boxing?
No. Oh. that sir. Wow. That's a whole nother trip.
Yeah, it's a whole nother thing.
No, what came to my mind was Roy Jones versus Anderson Silva. But obviously if they do that, that's going to be their own.
That's going to be separate deal. Be its own thing. Yeah. That's going to be either in Mike Tyson's league, or Roy Jones could put it in his own promotion. So
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think we see that there. But yeah, there are many things you can do with this. Like the undercard, I don't even see like why. I mean, you could have at least one legitimate fight on the undercard just to make sure you have the serious boxing fans watching. But
Mhm.
at the same time, Floyd is involved. They're gonna watch anyway.
It's
Like
true.
they're going to how many people have that that don't watch Ryzen at all know about Tenshin Nasukawa?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
So Floyd is going to be involved, so people are going to watch. You're going to have the YouTube kids, you're going to have all sorts of hipsters and everybody that's watching this. You're going to have fight purists that want to see the real fighter destroy the guy who's making a spectacle of their beloved sport. You're going to have everybody watching this as is, and clearly, if you show me a sucker and I'll show you an MMA fan. So the
Sure.
MMA fans are clamoring on this. I mean, we're talking about it now. So MMA fans are like the biggest marks in the world. So they're going to be watching this. Put an MMA fighter against a boxer on here. Maybe you can. I don't want to do this to Dean, but maybe Dean can finally fight Mayorga or something. I don't know. You can have so many different angles to this. You can have another YouTube guy fight another YouTube guy. You can do YouTube versus Twitch. You can do Instagram versus Facebook or whatever. I don't know who any of these people are because I'm old and washed up. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, throw some rappers on there. Like, give us another concert in between every fight. This is not going to be a legitimate boxing event. This is not going to be anything that should have any bearing on the rest of the combat sports world. If we were to get a legitimate fight on this, it'd just be icing on the cake. It's not necessary because they got our money already.
Yeah, and that's one point I don't want to get lost in this because I see a lot of people comparing this. Dana White, for example, even spoke on, saying this is the state of boxing now, right? Like, there's a difference between what this
Classic
is.
CM Punk. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, exactly, right? God dang. But there's a difference between what this is, what this event is, and legitimate boxing. I don't want to get those two conflated so much just because you have a former, the best ever taking part in it. Like, this is pure spectacle. This is not the competitive sweet science. This is an event. This is a money grab. This is what this is. This is strictly for the views. This is completely separated from the competitive sport that boxing purists love and tune into when they watch an Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia, like they did last weekend.
Yeah.
Sharp difference. So I don't want people to get lost and wrapped up in that these are one and the same, because they're not. And they don't have to be. Just because they're participating in the same thing does not mean, for example, you don't compare the NBA to MTV's Rock and Jock, do you?
No.
Okay. That's what we're looking at here. That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Like this is Rocky versus Thunder Lips. Like, it doesn't make Clubber Lang any less dangerous. It's just different.
Exactly.
So yeah, I do think that people should just just enjoy it for what it is. Don't read too much into it. And I think we can be guilty of that sometimes. I know us two in particular definitely can be guilty of that at times. But this is so far over the top. This is not CM Punk sneaking in on a card that should be all about Stipe Miocic at UFC 203. This isn't that sort of thing. This isn't James Toney embarrassing himself at UFC 118. It's not in that same realm. This is so far gone that we've jumped the shark at this point. That's the phrase, jump the shark.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think that's right. Properly
what
used.
the kids say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the kids say. Like I said, I'm old and washed up, but yeah, man, this is just going to be fun. Just enjoy it. By then maybe I'll know who St. John is.
And on that note, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and give us your feedback on what you think about this ridiculous matchup between Floyd Mayweather and one Logan Paul, YouTube superstar turned, circus fighter, I guess, so to speak. And Do you think Conor McGregor is going to be involved anyway? You know, him or Dylan Dennis. Do you think they're going to make their appearance known in some form or fashion on this event? Let us know below. We appreciate it. And yeah, we'll catch you next time on the next video or something.